Hello, it's Uncle Bruce. We're in Houston, Texas today. It's kind of cold down here, but it sure feels good. It's better than the summer weather that we've been experiencing up until recently. Now look, good morning. We are going to do the two-pager this morning, and I've redone this one time again, and I like what I did, and I think it'll help you out a lot. Why do we have a two-pager? It's because sometimes people that you're trying to get to invest only want a little bit of information. So you don't want to send them a big giant business plan. You're not ready to do that yet. You got to feel back what these guys are interested in before you go make a giant business plan, because all your concepts can be pretty much stated in an executive summary, and then later on you can fill those out with a lot more detail. But first, chum the waters and see if you can get some sharks to bite. That's what this is all about. So, go to Shark Cap Table 3 Thin. Open it up and go to your two-page tab. And here we go. This actually is a nice way to get the hang of how a pre-money calculator works. This particular calculator is independent. It's not going to affect anything else. And it's good enough that you can just simply fill it out and send it as a one-pager, if that's what you want to do. Let's first do that. Now, in order to get started, there's, of course, a little information you always have to fill in. So anything in red you're going to fill in. Say you got First Sovereign Equity Research. That's my company. I'm just using it because I know most about it. And what I say here is not perfectly right, but it's close enough to give you the idea of how to raise some money. So your company name, your website. Yeah, you got to have a website, of course. Your email. Don't forget that. You have to have a telephone number. Now, I'm not giving you my phone number because I think I'd get 4 million phone calls, but I do have an email, and you're welcome to check me out at bruce@fser.net. I would love to hear from you. And yes, I can help you, so communicate. Just don't call me. All right. Now, one more thing here. There's a drop-down right here, and you could select from it Shark, Investor, or VC. I'm going to keep with the investor for now. And over here are two websites. This is our original program, the sharkcaptable.com. We've been selling it for 5 years, sold a bunch of them, made a lot of people happy, and made some money. This is our newest site, and it's actually continually evolving. And there you'll see some interesting information. I suggest you go check that one out. And that will be ultimately the site that you can buy, sharkcaptable.com, the original classic version, or you can buy 3 Thin or other tools that we have available. Thanks. Let's go into our program in detail. So I'm going to scroll up here. Look, anytime you see these little yellow L things over here, that means you can actually click underneath them and you can highlight, copy and paste if that's what you would like to do. All right. Now, see, First Sovereign Equity Research, that's a concatenated statement. You've already put in the name of the company, which actually I put in my name of my company. What happens is this section up here is really a little dashboard. It talks about the diluted stakes. You got the founder, the investor, the options. Voting control between the founder and the investor, that's very important. Over here, the options, remember, do not vote. And here you have the investment multiple. This is simply cash on cash. It's not time dependent. You could make $100 million in 10 years. Or $100 million in 1 year and only have $1 million in it each time, and you still got 100 to 1. You do that same calculation over here with the internal rate of return, and that is time dependent. The longer it takes to get your bait back or your cash back, the smaller the internal rate of return is. Dude, what'd you expect? Come on. Okay. Let's go in here and let's just rapidly make one happen. How much cash do you have in the deal? Oh, I don't know. $5,000. That's okay. There's no wrong answer. Do you have, some other little things that are valuable? In this case, I put web software. I'm going to move these guys off the side because they're kind of annoying. But there's lots of little help. Anytime you see these little red arrows, click on them. It's great. And by the way, as long as I'm up here, see this says helpful details showing? I can do this. See, it looks very clean, but there's not as much detail. And you might want that detail. I certainly would have the detail when you're filling this out because there's some interesting things that are going on that we're telling you about. So these two line items here are enterable, and you could put anything you want into them. let's just say you happen to have a website. Let's say it's worth $10,000 and other intangible values. Oh, we're going to make that 100,000. 100,000 is good enough. So you have a pre-money value of $115,000. It's not very much. Yeah, maybe we ought to say it's worth 200,000. So we got a little more to work with. There we go. Now, let's ascribe a price per founder share. And let's just dial in a bunch of shares. So at 1 cent, based on this $5,000 you put in, you get 500,000 shares. Let's go to 2 million shares. And notice that these are the slow and the fast buttons. They do the same thing. One's a little slower, one's a little faster. And you got to have an option pool. Why an option pool? Well, you get some money in the deal, and let's say you screw up. This helps the investor reward the new guy that's going to take your place. They're not going to steal your shares, but they're going to issue these options for common shares. These are held in abeyance, kind of like a savings account. It still dilutes you and your offering, but they may never be issued. So do a good job, and they won't be issued. Do a bad job, out you go. So let's put in a nice even 20%. And the right one here, you can have the cost. You see I put the little cost dollar sign, the percentage for that. It's a $100 cost. It doesn't make any difference what it is. It's a tiny amount is all you need. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, how much cashola do we need from the investor? Well, let's say we need $100,000. Now, we don't know how much we're going to give away for that $100,000. It all depends upon the pre-money value that the investors are willing to pay. Just because you think you're worth $215, or hey, let's crank it up and say we're worth an even $500,000, which is really what we should do because we have a little more runway. There we go. We're worth $500,000. Does the investor believe it? Nah. He comes in here and says, okay, Uncle Bruce, I like what you're doing, but you're only worth $340,000, and here's why. A, B, C, D. Okay, so I say, great, $340,000. Now, right here's the cost per share that he's paying, which is a lot more than you paid for yours. That's good. That's called an up round. Generally, it happens on your first round that it's up. It's the other rounds that might be down rounds because you screw up. The company's not doing so well, and nobody wants to buy into it at the price you think it's worth. But today, only today, it's all going to be okay. So let's see what the ownership is. Now, you know the inverse relationship. The higher this number gets, the less the investor owns. So which way do you think he wants to make it go? He wants to make it go down, down, down. Let's make it even 300,000. All right, so he's paying 12.5 cents. For this little measly $300,000, I'm sorry, for this $100,000 with a $300,000 valuation, he gets 28.6% of the company on a non-diluted basis. This is just the voting control. It turns out it's 25% on a fully diluted when you add in those options. Now, what is the multiple that he's going to get when we sell this little beauty? Well, we don't know yet because we haven't put any in. How much are we going to get for this company? Oh, of course we're going to get $5 million. Everybody always says you're going to get $5 million. Well, if that's the case, it's not such a bad deal because here's the investor internal rate of return after 5 years. His multiple is 12.5 times his money. Hey, if you actually do this, that's a good deal. It may not be one of these barn burners, one of these giant unicorns, but there's nothing wrong. This might be your very first deal, your very first one of a serial entrepreneurial lifestyle. You'll do hundreds of these. Well, maybe not hundreds, but maybe 5 or 6. By the time you do the 5th or 6th one, you're in there for some big money. You got to graduate from kindergarten first, and maybe this is kindergarten. Now, remember, the longer it takes to sell, let's go to 6. Notice when we make this number bigger here, this number gets smaller. And it affects us too on an internal rate of return. Notice the multiple doesn't change no matter what year you sell. Of course, it changes if you change the price, as do these little guys, given particular year that we're selling. So let's leave it at 5, and let's leave it at 5 just for grins. Now what has happened is I'm going to scroll down here so you can see a little better. We have an investment summary. It's all automatic. And I'm going to show you just in case you don't believe me. Now we can actually see all this. We're seeking from the investors an investment of $100,000. See, there's that 100 for 25% of the company. That's that. Of the fully diluted stakes, of the fully diluted equity of the company for this investment, we will issue 800,000 shares. See that right there at 0.125 cents, 12.5 cents a share, right there. Founders and options collectively own the balance are 75% on a fully diluted basis. 62.5 and 12.5. Yep, that's 75. And founders maintain voting control with 71%. You see, come up here, it says it, founders control voting. And the issue, 71.4% of the issued shares outstanding from the exit value of $5 million. And notice what happens if we change that. See the number right here changes. I'm going to send it back again to 5 just to show you that I'm honest, that we're no tricky guys here. The investors will earn an investment multiple of 12.5. There's that 12.5 multiple, or a 65.7% internal rate of return. You didn't have to write that. If you tried, it's really, really hard. Especially if you come back and say, I want to change it. Then you got to go back and change it again, and you're going to go nuts. That's why we concatenate these things. I want you to win, and I want you to win because you spend less time screwing around with little details and making it look pretty and making it look worky. Make it work. Be able to talk about it. That's what it's all about. And we're going to give you the tool that makes you look smarter and faster. I already did that for Volvo Corporation. Did over $300 million worth of deals, and my software was at the beginning of it. The last deal we did was for $22.5 million down in Australia. Oh, but we didn't get to go to Australia. We did it right from my dining room table at about 4 o'clock in the morning, over the internet. But we got the deal done. I wrote the business plan. And it was the third time they wanted a business plan. The third time was the charm. They never got it done before me, but we got it done. $22.5 million, 3 big rental stores, and they're doing fine now. Yep, you can be successful too. Okay, enough of the fun. Let's go down here and take another quick look at what else we got. This is the little capitalization table. The investor. This is the type of the investor valuation. Here's the founder valuation. The option pool, well, there's no valuation for an option pool, but here is the investment for each of these 3 components of ownership. Shares issued, share price, post money. That means after it's all done, who owns what slice of the pie is there. The exit value, sell for $5 million. Well, based upon 12.5%, the investor gets $1.25 million and so forth. It's just simply $5 million times 12.5%. That's how we get that. The internal rate of return, well, okay. And you can see along the top here that these numbers are going to come directly from that little entry place that I asked you to fill out. Now, this is a 1-pager, but we do advertise a 2-pager. Well, what's going on in the 2-pager? It's a little more of what we just did. This time you get a chance to show your prowess in the English language, as in writing it. Okay, folks, right here are text boxes. And you can write in those text boxes, and they slink around like this. And that's really nice. And you can also place your cursor right there and ask the spell checker to see if you've done it right. I don't think the grammatical checker is going to work inside of one of these boxes. So please watch your language, your grammar, and write a nice thing. I left what I wrote in here. This is not a bad little set of paragraphs. And the other thing is this paragraph here, paragraph 1, is separate from paragraph 2. There is no snaking. That's the part that I wish they would do differently in Excel, but it's okay because we're not writing a book. And if you want to, you can simply write this in Microsoft Word and then copy it back in. But you got to watch very carefully that you don't leave some things outside of the boundaries of the text box. You want everybody to read your brilliance, so don't leave it outside it. All right, so I gave you another page. And I met Mark Cuban. He's a good guy. He gave a great speech. It was lots of fun. And there I am again with a tablet version of SharkCapTable.com. What this page is all about is about management. An early stage deal, who's doing it is almost more important than what the heck you're doing. I mean, if you could get Bill Gates to join you in a deal, do you think anybody would ever ask, what are you doing? You got Bill with you? Of course, or Larry Ellison, or how about Elon Musk, or any of these famous guys? It'd be great. But anyway, unless you have those guys, you better, make your best case. So put a little picture in. Put their name. A little abbreviation as to what their title is. Right here's another little section. See that? That's unlocked. This little section here is unlocked. Everything is unlocked right in here. These are unlocked, but everything else is locked. So you come in here, you do a little writing. If you copy this and put it over here, you're probably going to see it go back to a different font. I don't know why it's doing that. I tried to get rid of it, but you'll have to reformat. It's no big deal, so be careful. If these two guys down here are advisors, well, you could identify them. You could write something else in this little block here if you want. Now look, recognize this? That's already been done for you. Recognize this? It's already been done for you. So all you got to do is put in 4 mug shots of your best people, write a little thing about each one of them, and write these 2 paragraphs, and you got yourself a terrific, printable, sendable, printed in PDF. Watch this. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to show you that we can do this in PDF. But first I got to make this a little bit bigger. I got to show the tabs. File, print. Got to come up here to Microsoft Print to PDF. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, there it is again. Oh, well, I left the arrow in there, but now you know where it came from. So those 2 things you can send.